Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a very special episode of the Make It Happen podcast, episode 8. And yes, the title is going to just be a special episode because we are in a new location. We got new sound equipment, and we're going to have a guest coming on here the second half of this episode. All of that will be talked about a little later on. But let's get into what this podcast was originally for, and that's sports, because that's what I know, and it's what's easy. And for reference, for anyone who is listening, I'm in a studio today that, again, I'm going to get to later. But there's two other people in here with me, so if it sounds like I'm talking to someone else, I pretty much am. And you'll hear who that is the second half. But let's talk about the Eagles. So the Eagles, at the moment, it is Friday, December 13th, and they are 11-2. Coming up this weekend is the Keystone matchup. It is the Eagles versus the Steelers, so it should be a good one. The Steelers are in first in the, the AFC North, something like that, and the Eagles obviously are in first here in the NFC East. So let's talk about Saquon, because Saquon is the driving factor in this train that this Eagles team is. So let's talk about his MVP race. Personally, I think he should win the MVP. It could be Josh Allen, but I'm pretty sure right now Saquon's in the lead. So for him, he's leading all running backs. So in yards, he's at 1,623. The next closest is Derrick Henry of the Ravens. Obviously, that's his new team, and he's at 1,407. So he has everyone in yards. Attempts. Technically, Kyron Williams is at 280 attempts, but he also played last night in the most boring NFL game, I think, imaginable, as it was, 12-6, something like that. It was pathetic. But I should say, at the end of this week, Saquon will be back on top. He's at 266 attempts, and before last night, Kyron Williams is at 251. So Saquon will definitely catch him, unless the Eagles somehow don't run the ball, 14 times, 15 times? They definitely are going to. Excuse me. And yards per carry. Saquon is at 6.1, and this is the closest. Derrick Henry's at 5.9. So one bad game, and maybe Derrick Henry catches him in one stat, but probably not, because it doesn't seem like there's such thing as a bad game for Saquon Barkley. So that is Saquon. Let's talk about Josh Allen. So his MVP case, I guess you could say, is he's at 3,033 yards with a 64% completion percentage, 23 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 9 rushing touchdowns. And what he has, or I guess what Saquon has over Josh Allen, is the Bills are 10-3, and the Eagles are 11-2. So, team record is definitely in favor of Saquon. Hopefully the Birds can keep this up. So let's continue talking about MVP. So those are the two front runners up until the Ravens played the Eagles. Lamar Jackson was in the hunt for that MVP slot. But, those exciting whites in Reed Blankenship and Cooper DeJean, they definitely had something to say about that, and they knocked him out of that MVP conversation. So the question is it Saquon or is it Josh Allen? But what people are not talking about is, why not Jalen Hurts, right? So obviously there has been some incredible buzz around the Eagles this week because of the, disheartening and the negative energy that A.J. Brown gave off after the game last week in his interview when a reporter asked him something to the effect of what needs to change in this offense, and A.J. responded with passing. That's it. Nothing more was said. And the media, as they do, they took it and ran with it. And so that was that's not great. And so the past, what's today, Friday? So the past 5 days, I guess you could say, so Monday through today, everyone's been like, oh, well, what does that mean? Blah, 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 right? Well, Jalen Hurts has been playing subtly MVP football, right? So, like I said, I gave you Josh Allen stats. Jalen is right there. Again, his team is 11-2, and everyone knows the MVP generally is a quarterback award. But Jalen's at 2,602 yards, so he's 400 off Josh Allen. But again, he's not asked to throw the ball as much. He's at a 68.3% completion percentage, so 4 points higher than Josh Allen. He's at 16 passing touchdowns, so that's 7 behind Josh Allen. And again, I think Jalen's highest. He's never hit 30 passing touchdowns in his career, so we should not expect a lot of passing touchdowns. He's at 5 interceptions. I believe only 1 or 2 of them, is after week 6 or after week 4. I think after the bye week, I think he's only thrown 2 interceptions. And he's at 13 rushing touchdowns. So he has 4 more than Josh Allen in that category. And so total touchdowns, he's at 16 and 13 is 29. Josh Allen is at 30. Do the math here. 23 and 9 is 32. 32. Look at me. I can do math. So the difference really isn't that much. So honestly, I don't love the Jalen Hurts odds to be MVP, but the argument is definitely there. And I think people should give him more credit than he's getting right now. But let's talk a little bit more about this team before we move to a quick Phillies update and then get to the real reason why we are here. So AJ and Jalen, I talked about why AJ, or what was said recently. And so AJ versus Jalen. Should it really be them versus each other? I don't think so. But let's talk about why AJ is mad. So he said passing. I think he had about 3 or 4 targets last week. And again, it was a bad game. Bad games happen. It was against the Panthers, who are like one of the worst teams in the league. But that's going to happen. But this year, AJ has been quiet, I guess you could say. So right now, AJ ranks 56th in targets. And a target, for anyone who does not know, is when the quarterback throws the ball towards you, right? You might not catch it. It might be an interception. It could be a deflection, right? It could be any of those things. But if that ball is intended for you, that is considered a target. So A.J. Brown has 66 of those. 6.6 a game is what it averages out to be. And that is 56 in the league, right? He only has 836 yards. And yes, I understand that he was hurt for a few games, but he is coming off back-to-back 1,200 yard seasons, and I think he had about 120 targets each season. So he is nowhere close to being on pace in targets, and I don't know. He's probably going to have a big game on Sunday, so he may hit that 1,200 yard threshold, but I'm not holding my breath. So is this a problem? Well, we have to think. The Eagles, their new identity is running the ball. So what is AJ doing? Well, because he is one of the best receivers in the league, their teams can't just kind of like put their heads down and be like, okay, we're going to stop Saquon. Yeah, well, if you try to stop Saquon, we have AJ, so you can throw the ball to AJ. But if teams sell out on AJ, then Saquon can run the ball even more effective. So that's definitely a plus, and that is a huge contributor why Saquon's having a great year. But I also understand why AJ's mad. And now the real question that I didn't think about, but I heard yesterday being posed is, well, AJ's mad because if his numbers fall off, then the front office is going to be like, well, maybe it's AJ. Maybe it's not the questions around him. And when the front office questions things, what happens? Well, I'm going to tell you. Players don't get paid what they believe they deserve. And for all intents and purposes, AJ Brown is a top 5 receiver in the league, give or take. So he should be paid like it. However, if his numbers don't back it up, that's what the front office is going to look at. And so it could pose contract issues. And again, I'm all for players wanting their money and getting their money, but you can't pay a player on phantom stats. And that's really probably why AJ's mad. And I get it. So do I think there's really a problem? No, I really don't. But we live in Philadelphia. The media is king. They're going to blow everything out of proportion. And so it is going to be a ride, let's put it that way, for the rest of the season. So that brings up a great question. What's a realistic end goal for this team? Personally, I think it's a Super Bowl. I don't think there is any world that this team does not make the Super Bowl. and we're okay with it. Obviously, again, we're the most passionate fan base in Philadelphia, in the world. I shouldn't say that, in America. And so we're going to obviously blow everything out of proportion. But this team definitely is better than that 2022 team that made it to the Super Bowl. So I think if we do not make it, there definitely needs to be a long look in the mirror. So that is the Philadelphia Eagles. We love them. We hate them. We can't stand them. We wish they would be better. But they are the backbone of the city. And, yeah, that's that. And so let's move on real quick to the Phillies. Obviously, it is the offseason. It's the winter meetings. All those rich owners are all together talking about, honestly, probably nothing except the yachts that they're going to be on for the next month while their teams get ready for spring training. But we need something to talk about. And I love to talk about the Phillies because this is basically a Phillies podcast. But I have to disguise it by talking about other sports here and there. So real quick, we're just going to go through free agency. I mean, last season was a huge letdown, and I think we need a third baseman, and I think we need an outfielder. So 2 free agent targets could be Alex Bregman of the Astros. Great third baseman, definitely getting a little older, but he kind of fits the timeline of this team as everyone is in their early to mid 30s, and he would slot right in. He'd be a great everyday third baseman, much better than Alec Boehm. Please send him to China. And then for the outfield, we could get Anthony Santander. Now, is Santander kind of a wild card? Absolutely. Last year was his first 40-plus home run season. He is a subpar defender, and Lord knows we don't really need one of those. However, we could use the power because it looks like Schwarber is kind of on his way out. And, yeah, Santander's a switch hitter. You can slot him right in the middle of that lineup. It would be great. Potentially push Trey Turner back to the leadoff spot where I think he'd excel, but I'm not Rob Thompson, and Rob Thompson listens to no man, so it doesn't matter. And lastly, for those Phillies, if you're not going to go get a free agent, maybe we trade for someone. Cody Bellinger had an option. He had an option that the Cubs picked up. Cubs recently just picked that option. I think it was a 1-year option, so Bellinger did not want to be a free agent. But the Cubs then said, hey, we'll trade him. So Bellinger is huge because he fills a major void. He's a little younger, but he still slots in that age gap. I believe he's 28 or 29. A long time ago, he won MVP and Rookie of the Year, I believe. Last year, he hit 266, 18 home runs, 78 RBIs. He would be the perfect player because we could slot him right into center field. He'd be infinitely better than Rojas, infinitely better than Marsh. And he's he's a lefty bat that we could bat towards the top of the order, and he'd be great. And then if we don't want to do that, we could go with I don't know if you want to say the sexy option, who is Luis Robert. He's a little younger. He's on a pathetic team. Actually, historically, he's on the statistical worst team of all time, the Chicago White Sox. And now he has injury problems. He has a strikeout problem. He has a strikeout rate of 34%, where the league average is 22%. So he would do great next to Schwarber and the Phillies. The Phillies we love to sign people who strike out. Ergo, Ryan Howard, Schwarber. Should I continue? No, because I'm just going to become depressed. It's fine. But yeah, Luis Robert last year, injury problems. He had a down year. He hit 224, 14 home runs, 35 RBIs. So you're probably like, yo, bro, why would we sign him? Well, 2023 was a completely different year. He hit 264, 38 home runs, 80 RBIs, had an 857 OPS. He had 20 stolen bases, and he actually played 145 games. And yes, that's a career high for him, but that's about average what you're going to get from most of these everyday players. 20 games off. That's pretty standard, I think you could say, for any healthy manager to give his players. So that's a little Phillies talk. That's a little sports because, that's, I think, the backbone of this podcast. But today, we don't care about the sports. we are here in a special area a special studio with a special guest. And that special guest today is Matt Simmons. Matt Simmons is the owner, the founder of Simmons Media in Westchester, PA. He is soon to be, I guess, the live owner of Westchester Studios, which is where we are. I guess you could say he is the owner, but he is that Westchester Studios is going to be live for everyone to get in here to utilize. And we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. But Matt, welcome to the Make It Happen podcast. How are you doing today?
Doing well. It's great to be on. I mean, I've been listening to pretty much all your episodes, showing love, show some support to the podcast. It's great to be on.
I appreciate it. So let's talk about a little bit about you. So college, where'd you go to college?
Westchester. Yep. I didn't leave after college.
Hey, that is support right there. Clearly, the key to Matt is support. He's supporting everything, whether it be the town that he went to college in or the people that are around him. So that's love. So college at Westchester, what'd you major in?
Funny story. First, I was political science.
Okay.
So I went with the intention of going to law school.
Okay.
Quickly realized that was not for me. Couldn't see myself in school for 7, 8 years.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Even longer, maybe.
Yeah. Career academics was not in my cards.
Okay.
So I was dealt.
Okay.
Quickly realized that wasn't for me. Always had a passion for videography, media space. Tried doing countless YouTube channels growing up, whatever it may be. But it all led to me then picking up media, where I really dived in, and that's where it all became a reality.
Okay. When did I guess it become a reality? Like, what year in school were you, would you say?
Probably junior year of college.
Okay. So, do you remember like a moment that you were like, yeah, this is it?
Yeah, it was definitely, I was thinking about it for a while.
Okay.
But there was one day where I'm like, I just can't do the law thing. Like, that's just not me. And I'm like, what do I like? What do I like to do?
Yep.
And I thought of two things at the time. I love basketball. That's pretty much how we met, is through basketball. But I love basketball, and I love video, making social media posts, all that kind of stuff, and really dove into the media side.
Okay. All right. So let's first talk about Simmons Media. So what is Simmons Media? How did you start it? And then, I guess I'll let you answer that, and then I have another follow-up for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sure. So Simmons Media was started the day after I graduated college. Went right into it, and what it is done-for-you social media management. So we have a team here that has in-house, videography, photography, graphic design, and social media managers, and we use all of those to take social media pretty much entirely off a business owner's plate.
Okay.
We specialize a lot with the fitness industry, so that's really where we've blossomed. Okay.
Shout out to Gabe, because he's behind the camera, so you guys aren't going to see him. Well, maybe you will. Maybe we'll call him over here. But he's one of the key contributors to this whole thing. So shout out, Gabe. We appreciate you. So then you said started right after college, literally the day after.
Yep.
Obviously, a business does not start overnight. So do you remember when it was like, I don't want to work for someone else. Like, let me do my own thing?
Yeah. So, I've always kind of had those tendencies, like the entrepreneurial tendencies.
Yep.
It all started off, I used to have a Christmas wreath making business that actually, helped me get through college. So, it was a little bit, it worked for the time.
Money's money.
Yeah. It worked for the time. But, I always just kind of realized, I always knew that I wanted to do something.
Okay.
For myself, I guess you could say.
Right.
But that's one thing I've learned quickly is that having a business, it's, instead of having one boss, you have 50 bosses.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone's your boss.
Everyone's your boss.
Yep.
Exactly. But, it was just always something I thought I could do, which, again, is why, the law school thing was definitely not going to work.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about, what Simmons Media is. If you would have had to pick maybe not pick, but describe who is it for?
Sure. Yeah. So Simmons Media is for a couple of different avatars, right? So the one is a busy business owner, a small business owner.
Yep.
So somebody who's, really just focused on growing their business. They're in that growth phase of business.
Mm-hmm.
They probably are making more than $350,000 in their business.
Okay.
And they really just want to offload social media. So someone we would have the best success with is, like I said, a busy business owner who understands social media is important to the growth of their company, but they, one, just don't have the skill sets to do it well, or two, they just want to completely offload it to not have to worry about it.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So any of you out there listening that maybe you aren't a big business owner, but you know a big business owner who is stressed about social media, Matt's your guy. And tell him that you came from the Make It Happen podcast because, So, obviously, Simmons Media been in Westchester as long as you can remember?
Started in Westchester.
Okay.
And I've stayed in Westchester.
So, why Westchester?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a really good question. So, Westchester is the community, right? So, even in college, it was just something different about going into town and, like the restaurant, like the food truck festival, all that good stuff they do, the Christmas parade. And I mean, Westchester does it right, I think. But yeah, the community has always been great food, great, nightlife if that's your thing.
Right.
There's something for everybody here, I think. And that's something I realized quickly when coming to college here. My sister went to Westchester University as well. So when I thought of college growing up, I just thought of Westchester. Like I didn't think of anywhere else.
Okay.
Right? So I kind of got into it early, but the community's been great. And so even in college, I had an internship at Gauge Strength Training my senior year.
Okay.
I was like a hybrid media guy, hybrid trainer with them. And I was like, yeah, definitely the media side for me. I think, that was it for me. But even just getting in there at a super young age and seeing the community they built, I then also started associating that community with Westchester. So for me, it's always just been Westchester's the place.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm going to say it. I'm biased to Westchester. I love Westchester. I have a bunch of friends. I obviously, Matt and I went to school together, but we know each other from playing basketball. I probably should have led with that, but, we're too busy talking.
It's all good.
So, love Westchester. And, I can kind of just second everything. Like, the community is different. It's like a big but small place. It's big because I think the school, but it's small because without the school, you have like a tight-knit community, you know what I mean? I think it's cool that you have stayed true to this area. Sorry. So then moving back to the business side of things, how old are you?
I'll be 25 tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Hey, there we go. There's another first, a birthday guest on the episode. So 25.
Yep.
And you have a thriving business. Is it okay to say that?
Yeah, it's doing well. No, I appreciate
it. What would you say maybe 2-3 keys to starting a business would be?
Okay. That's a good question too. One, capitalize on your current network.
Okay.
Right. That's huge. There's a good saying, I think Hormozy, this is one of his things, but it's a good way to get your first couple clients, right? Or first couple projects. And it's if everyone's going to feel a little weird reaching out to people they know to say, hey, do business with me. It's kind of a way around that, right? So if you just reach out to people you know and say, hey, do you know anybody who could benefit from this, which I'm offering? That has been something has been super valuable to me because one, it's like I don't want to sell to like my cousin or something like that, but if I reach out to them, I'm like, hey, do you know anybody who could use a professional video? They are either going to say, yeah, like my friend Joe was just saying he needs something, or they would even be like, I could actually use one. So it's a way of indirectly asking. Okay. Yep. So there's one. Second piece of advice to starting a business is, let's see. One, I would say, is also be willing to give it away at first. So this is especially huge in so say you're talking about like videography, right? Right. If you want to start a video company, don't be afraid to give away some videos to start, just to build that portfolio and get.
Disclaimer: that's what this is. Anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah, but don't be afraid to like give it away at first, just because you need to build that book. You need to build some credibility, so when you go to sell to people, you actually have people who, one, will stand up for you and say how great your work's been, and two, you have something to show them. Okay. Hey, I mean, you guys heard it here first. A business pro, right? So then, those are the keys. What would you say has made you successful? Yeah, maybe I should add something. Who also has helped make you successful? Yeah. Well, first off, I mean, I just gotta give a shout out to the team. Right. So when when I decided, it got to the point where, we had a steady enough income and workload was getting crazy. It was like 6 to 9 every single day, 7 days a week. Yeah.
And you lived at home, right?
Yeah. So it was just grinding, trying to get it out. But yeah, at that point, really decided I could use some help.
Right.
So actually, funny enough, we talked about Gabe earlier. He's behind the cameras right now, but once Gabe started, and then we started bringing on more people, it really took off from there.
Cool.
So learning to delegate, all that has been massive.
See, and I thank Gabe for being great at his job, because that makes me look good, because I was kind of a reference.
100%.
So I appreciate you, Gabe, for not making me look like an idiot. Shout out to you. So that's what else would you say has helped make you successful in
Definitely
this
the
journey?
People.
Okay.
The people, right? I can name a couple too. First one, Devin Gage.
Right.
He was actually in here yesterday doing a podcast, but he was who I had the internship with at
Right.
Gage Strength Training. And when we were first getting started, he referred us to like 5 people.
It's huge.
Yeah, and 3 of them became clients, and we still work with every single one of them. So it's
You know. It's
yeah.
all about who you know.
It's all about who you know. Devin was massive, and also just business guidance
Okay.
as well. Another one, Charlie Hauk. He owns Growth Dynamics,
Okay.
which is like business consulting, sales training.
Gotcha.
I had no idea how to sell until I took his course, and you should use that as a clip because it's real. It's real.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea how to sell until I took his training. Him, his daughter Sarah run Growth Dynamics.
Okay.
And funny enough, they own this building. Yeah, so they're the
Look at
landlords
that.
for this. So
Look
it's
at
all
that.
about who you know.
Okay.
Yep.
So then we'll stay with Simmons Media for now.
Okay.
Trust me, we are going to get to Westchester Studios. What would you, being a business owner, give me like 2 or 3 pros of being a business owner? What do you?
Pros?
Yeah. What do you
Okay.
like?
Yeah, it's a good question. One, I like to, meet new people and meet new clients. That's a huge part of it for me. Is I love interacting with our clients. And 2, I'm a big visionary person. Like if you try to explain, this is one thing I struggled with in basketball. Right, is when we would learn new plays, and the coach would just tell me the play, like, "Hey, do this." I'd be like,
You need
"What?
to see it.
I need to see it."
Yep.
Right. I need to see it first. So I'm a big visionary person. So getting to see the vision of kind of what I had in the back of my mind come to life is probably one of the best parts.
Okay. All right. How do you like being your own boss?
It's
Quote unquote.
yeah, quote unquote,
As
right?
we talked about earlier.
Especially like in a service industry, your clients are the boss,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Exactly. They dictate it. But no, it's great, and it's great when you have good people around you.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I never want to be like that. Like, oh, this is my boss, right? Like, no,
Yeah.
that's just not me. Yeah, it's been great.
Love that. Love that. So then on the other side, give me 2 or 3 cons.
Sure.
Like what's, maybe not cons, but let's say, what are some hurdles you've had to kind of jump over to get where you are today?
Sure. So, yeah, that's a good question. Hurdles definitely time.
Okay.
Right? Especially, we're only a couple of years into business,
Yep.
right? So basically my life has been growing this business the
Yeah.
past couple of years. Saying no to hanging out, different things like that, just to grow the business. I would say that's a hurdle, but also at the same time, it's pretty rewarding to see.
Now, has that
It would pay off.
changed?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, a little bit. I'm still, don't get me wrong, business is
Oh, yeah.
first, right?
Right.
But yeah, definitely since we've been able to grow the team, we got more systems, processes in place.
Right.
Time's been definitely easier to come by.
Yes.
I guess you would say. We're definitely still busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but that would probably be
that means you're doing good.
yeah, that'd probably be one of the biggest hurdles. Second is just learning everything. Like there's so much you don't know about until you get into it. Like taxes, crazy.
We can't imagine.
Hiring an
Can't
accountant as
even
soon as
imagine.
you start, man.
Yep.
It's that would be a big piece of advice for me too.
Okay. All right. So we talked about pros and cons. Would you change anything?
That's a good question. Yes. One thing.
What would you change?
If I could, go back and change something about the business, I would change the name from Simmons Media to something else. That's something I kind of learned early.
Why is that?
Is that, just when you have your name in it, is always associated to you.
Okay.
Right. So it's harder to scale. It's harder to eventually sell if that's what you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes it a little harder in that sense just because you're always associated because it's your name.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that's what I would say.
So would you change it now? Or you're too
too
far
into
in?
it now.
Yeah,
No way.
everything has Simmons Media on it.
Yep. Can't definitely not change it.
Yeah.
But I don't even know what I would change it to.
That's fair. Hey, at least you can own
Just
it.
Media.
Yeah,
I don't know.
right.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know.
So, last question about
Sure.
Simmons Media, I guess you could say. We kind of talked about it already. If you were, well, we talked about earlier, this space, right? You have a conference room downstairs.
Yep.
So let's say we brought in 10 entrepreneurial minded high schoolers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you needed to give them 2 points of advice to start a business.
Okay.
What would you? What are the two most important? Because I imagine you have a couple, but like, what are your most important and ones that would resonate most?
First one's don't be afraid to fail.
Okay.
That's huge. That's something, I mean, I had a hard time with in the beginning too.
Right.
You're going to get no's way more than you're going to get yeses.
No is just a 2-letter word.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Just let it go.
Mhm.
Right? It's just
move on.
Exactly. It's never anything personal.
Exactly.
It's hard to separate at first.
Yeah.
But I mean, once you grow those calluses, you'll be
Once you hear no enough, all right.
You'll be fine.
Next. Yep.
Yep. So that's definitely one I would tell somebody younger. Second, too, is don't be afraid to take risks either.
Okay.
So risk and failure, they're next door neighbors, right?
Right.
But sometimes, like, you have to go through those failures. You have to take those risks to learn what actually works, and what doesn't work,
Okay.
and take it from there.
Okay. And then last question, I'm kind of thinking about this one on the fly.
Yeah.
What? I just had it. Well, there it goes.
We'll come back.
We'll come back to it. Yeah, I'll probably think of it again.
Yeah.
So here we are in this space. I've been talking about it. I've been putting it off, but let's talk about Westchester Studios. So we've talked about it a little bit. Where are we? What are we in?
Yeah.
Talk about it. Let me hear it.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you the rundown.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're in Westchester Studios, right? This is the next chapter.
Okay.
Definitely. And it ties directly with Simmons Media.
Right.
It was always kind of the next evolution. It's just now is the right time, right?
Okay.
We had the opportunity moving to this space,
Right.
Which is perfect for what we needed to do with studios.
Right.
And what it is basically Chester County's premier content studio experience. We want to make it all about the experience,
Okay.
right? There's something about, it's not just shooting a podcast, right?
Right.
Like putting on the headphones, hearing yourself in the mic sounds great. It's cool, right? Like,
Isn't it?
You get locked in for
Yeah.
sure. But we want to make it an overall experience.
Okay.
And I think that stems from us working with so many, small group gyms. Is they're more. I mean, honestly, it seems like it's community first, working out second, right? And that's not to say like the workouts are great, everybody gets great results, but they're so focused on the community that I think that's something like a business lesson I took away from the gyms I wanted to implement in here, right? So Westchester Studios, yeah, we have 3 different bays for you to do your filming podcast at. Right now we're in the podcast studio, so this fits up to 4 people. You come in, podcast in here. We also have a set that's more like a lounge style that'll fit 2 people. You can do solo content. You can do 2-person content podcasts in there. That's we have like 2 lounge chairs. We have plants. It's a more like casual scene there. We also have a photography room where it's just meant purely for photography. You can do product photography, headshots, anything like that in there. And then
I can let me say I got my headshots done by Matt, A1. So anyway, keep going.
Appreciate it. But so we also have downstairs too, which we're going to be renting out as room for like a conference. It fits up to 12 people.
Okay.
You can do classes, you can do courses down there.
Right.
So something also for people who might just be wanting to get into podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
Something we have coming up like right when we open is we're going to offer intro to podcasting classes where we'll take 12 people. We'll do a workshop downstairs and then come up and everybody will have a 15-minute spot to film a podcast. So if you're interested, let me know.
Yeah.
Yep.
So all you podcast heads out there, come on over. Let's chat, right? So how long has this idea been brewing?
So this idea has been brewing for like 3 years now.
Okay.
So it's been like from day one, I wrote out like a 5-year map of Simmons Media. Somehow, I mean, it's been nothing like what it was, but there's been a couple constants, right? And this was one of them.
Okay.
And so this was always one of the evolutions that I had in mind was to not just be able to go to clients to film their content, to have them come to us and create just a great experience around it. Like we're really trying to do something that I don't think's been done yet.
Okay. Honestly, I mean, again, this is my space. So I'm going to give my opinion because that's what you guys are here for. But it gives off kind of like almost like an LA, like a content like, I don't know, space, sure, but it's like more than that. It's extensive. It's done right. So I mean, I was talking to Gabe before this. We were just kind of talking about the equipment and like what everything is, and I was just like, yeah, he did that. Like you took your time on it. Like what kind of planning went into this? Talk about the logistics a little bit.
So a lot of planning.
Yeah,
definitely more planning than went into Simmons Media for sure.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, but I mean, there's been a lot of lessons learned that we didn't have to relearn when opening this, which has been huge. But yeah, I mean, it's been meetings every week for a couple hours with Gabe. Him and I meet every single week. Now it's been every day, just getting it done because it's crunch time. We open in 21 days.
The countdown's been on.
The countdown is on.
And if you don't follow, well, most of you probably don't. So start it now. But go follow Westchester Studios on Instagram. There's been a countdown. What are we on day?
Today would be day 10.
Day 10. Yep. So we're on day 10. I'm saying we because I'm here right now. So they are on day 10. Yeah, right. Exactly. So tap into that for sure. What do you think about the new space? Because you guys just got here, right?
Yeah, this is our second week. Just about 2 full weeks, I think, at this point. Yeah, I mean, it's been great.
Yeah.
You've been to our old space. It was small. It was good startup space. Don't get me wrong. It was great for what we needed at the time. But yeah, I mean, with growth comes more growth, right?
And possibility.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why we're here.
So what is So seeing everything in here, right? Yep. What is your ultimate vision for, let's just say that for here, and then we'll move on in a little bit. Like, what would you say 2 years from now? What do you want this place to be and to be known for?
Sure. So, I mean, I think if I had to say like the vision for 2 years, I would say that when you think of content creation and podcasting in Westchester, you think this.
Okay.
Like this, we're just associated name by name, right along with that.
Okay. So
like if you decide you want to get into content, it's let me see like what Westchester Studios is about.
Right.
Exactly. That's what we want.
Okay. So then let's go 5 years from now.
Okay.
What would you said a 5-year plan. So now, I mean, we're well past that 5-year plan. We're on that 10-year plan, I guess. What would you say in 5 years? Where would you want to see this?
It's tough. I mean, obviously I'd love to see it be a success.
Right. And you're on the right track.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. 10-year plan, 5 years from now. It's tough, man. Maybe, who knows? Who knows where it goes? Maybe another one.
Okay.
Taking it day by day.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't even opened yet, and I'm talking about 10 years from now. But
that's a good question. Yeah, but really just making this, the ultimate content hub.
Okay.
For Westchester.
So, obviously, Westchester Studios we talked about Simmons Media extensively. So how do they connect? What is the draw to both of them, I guess you'd say?
Sure. Yeah. So Simmons Media, we use our videography, photography, graphic design really to hone in on social media and the editing and the production side of things. Right. Westchester Studios, this is for you. This is a space for you to come and you to, share your ideas with the world. Right. Okay. We're just here to help make that happen.
Right.
So this is really all about you, your experience. Where Simmons Media, we'll come out to you. We travel pretty much up and down the East Coast coming out for content shoots. But this is a space where you come in, you're greeted with a warm welcome, greeted by your first name every single time you come in. Like I said, a place for you.
And it really is. Like, my name was up on the big lights. I felt like a big timer. So that's for you guys. You guys, your name will be on the big light. So come on, let's show some love, right? So let's move on to some questions here. Okay. I gave you these a little bit earlier, and we're going to go out of order.
I thought about it for about 30 seconds. So let's see how this is.
Let's go with what advice would you give to your younger self?
My younger self? Mm-hmm. I would say
any age too.
Any age.
Yeah.
Okay. That's huge. I mean, let's start here. Definitely one is take care of yourself. So when I was younger, I 4th grade. I was a little heavier set, man. Just putting it straight, though. I was. So learning at a younger age, take care of yourself first.
Physically.
Your health. That's obviously number one.
Right.
Number 2, I'm going to repeat it again, but it's just don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Failure, I mean, is a good thing in my eyes now. If something fails, that means, just push it out of the way, move on. It's just time for the next thing.
So do you have, because that's a foreign concept to a lot of people. I'd say that, everything, whether it be, that's fine, whether it be social media, whether it be anything, you always see the best. I mean, you're in social media, right? You want to produce the top content of the best moments, right? Everyone is we're clipping everything, like the greatest moments. Listen, with all the good comes a lot of bad. So is there an example that you can kind of give of a time that you failed, but then you look back and you were like, I didn't fail. That was a learning experience?
Sure, definitely. There's been, here's the first one I think of, right, is public speaking, right?
Okay.
That was never my greatest skill. I could think of times where, like, even in college, like, I got up in front of the class and I was like, just blank, right? I was like,
been there.
Like, what do I say?
Yep.
Just trying to, like, then BS it the rest of the way. Even like professional presentations, there's been ones like I've prepared hours for, days for, weeks for, and then I get up there, I'm like, that sucked.
Yep.
That was bad.
But
yeah, it's just learning from that and doing things differently if it didn't work, even adding even more preparation, just getting your reps in.
Yeah. I think that's huge. I think being able to, it's cool that you can kind of talk about failure in such a positive light.
Yeah.
Because as athletes, you're taught I always say I'm the most competitive person I know. Yeah. I want to win more than anything, whatever it is. I've fought with, I shouldn't say fought, but I've argued with people like, oh, well, you're just playing to have fun. Fun's winning. Right.
Yeah, man, I agree.
Whether it be a board game, it could be whatever it is. Right.
I hear
yeah. So,
we've been at it basketball.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But whatever it may be, knowing that as athletes, knowing that failure is imminent and being able to learn from that is so huge.
Yeah.
You obviously I'm a year older than you.
Yeah.
But being able to learn that at such a young age is going to be huge.
Oh, 100%.
It's huge. So let's get another question. So
right,
let's go to sports.
Yeah, hit me.
If you could change one rule in sports, what sport would it be and what change would you make?
All right, so this is the one I did prepare a little bit for.
Okay.
Right? This is the one I spend all the time thinking about. So we talked briefly about it. We played basketball. That's how we know each other. So it would be a basketball rule.
Okay.
That would have been one that would have helped me tremendously back in my day, right?
All right.
And it's adding a 4-point line.
I like that.
That's my thing, right? I was a sharpshooter. I was like, what I was best at was shooting the ball. So if we could add a 4-point line, I think I could put up some more 20 points.
Okay. All right. I mess with that one.
What do you think about a 4-point line?
I think it's coming.
You think it's
I think it's coming.
Happen?
Yeah. First of all, the NBA is falling off.
Yeah.
Like they're struggling.
Views are down this year.
The views are way down. And it's because I think it's because a lot of the basketball purists are like this shooting the ball over and over again. We're kind of wearing it out. But also it's a league built on entertainment. And Adam Silver, I think he's the best the best commissioner in sports. I think that he knows that a change is needed. I would not be shocked if we saw a 4-point line in an all-star game in the next year or two.
I think that's how it will start.
Yeah. Like we saw in the 3-point contest. You have the 4-point shot, right? And that's from, 40 feet or
deep.
35. It might be like
close to
35, 35, 40 feet. So I think we're on the way. So, hey, maybe you have a career in commissioning, right?
Who knows?
Another question here. If you could sit down with one person for an hour just to pick their brain and talk to them, you can know them or not know them. Who would it be and why?
Are they living still?
Or dead. Either one.
Or dead.
Yeah, anyone.
All right. If I could pick anybody like of all time,
yeah,
give me George Washington.
Okay.
It's a crazy answer, right?
Yeah.
But you gotta realize like how young he was when in his glory days. He was young.
Yeah.
So just picking his brain, like hearing, I'm sure he had some crazy stories.
Okay.
He's seen a lot in his day, and he's also did amazing things at such a young age that I would love to just pick his brain and just hear how he had that inner confidence for such a young age. Hear what he was afraid about, right? Because I don't think of
oh my
fear when I
gosh,
think of George Washington, but like I'm sure he had his things,
countless things, guaranteed.
So, yeah,
That is an interesting one.
Interesting,
I don't think, because you think about George Washington, but you don't think of like he's kind of turned into like a cliche, almost. But he really, I mean, he's a founder. Like he's the one. Like we're about to be on 47, and he's one. Like that is.
You think of like the U.S., you think of George
Washington.
Yeah,
Ben Franklin, George Washington. Yeah, that's true.
I'd just be curious.
Yeah, that's a good one. I would not thought about that one. And then kind of to piggyback off that one, last question. If you could sit down and have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be?
It's tough, man. All right, I'll exclude George from this one since I already picked him. First one is more of a personal one. I would say my grandfather, right? My mom's dad, just because, I mean, I've heard countless stories about like how similar we are, how we would have got along, but I never got to meet him. Okay. So that would be the one for sure I would pick. Yep. 2, man, this is tough. I'd go with Elon Musk, right? Okay. Just curious to see w's going on in that brain.
There's a lot going on.
He'd be 2, and then 3. Three's tricky because those 2 are like the first 2 to come to my mind. Let's go 3. Give me Allen Iverson. Okay. Because he's
what a trio,
right? Yeah, he's my. Yeah, I mean he's like the guy who made me fall in love with basketball. So
that's gonna be a dinner. You're gonna have crazy. AI probably hammered at one end of the table. Yep. You're gonna have Elon Musk who is gonna be talking about things that no one's gonna understand, and then your grandfather and you are just gonna be like, just keep going. Come on, just right. What a dinner. Well, let me say thank you because the studio is something I haven't ever seen. Like you guys, Gabe, shout out to you again. You guys really did it here. Shout out to the rest of the team, right? But this is phenomenal. Simmons Media, watching you kind of like grow into this is crazy. Because I remember like the first, I think like Instagram post, like boom, like I'm starting this. I was like, all right, go ahead, do your thing. And here we are now. This is something special. So I appreciate you having me here, letting me kind of do my thing, just see what everything's about. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well, I will talk to you, I guess, when I talk to you. I'm not going to put a date on it. But yeah, thanks for listening to the Make It Happen podcast. Make sure you go like, subscribe, do your thing. I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.